Alright, so now we're going to talk about two special kinds of lines and their slopes, and actually knowing the slopes of these two types of lines is very important in calculus. I've had so many students forget this and it makes life harder for them. So don't forget that horizontal lines have zero slope and vertical lines have undefined slopes. Okay, so let's talk about both of them. Let's talk about horizontal. So I'm going to draw a horizontal line. Alright, so nothing special. Let's say maybe this is y equals 2. And I'll let this be my horizontal line. And we just want to figure out the slope of this line. It should be 0, but we'll talk about why it's 0. So one thing to know, the y value is always 2. So it doesn't matter what points I pick. So let's say I choose, like, let's say this is negative 3 and 2. And let's try 2 and 2. So these will be our 2 points, and I'm just going to find the slope of the line using these 2 points. Alright, so let's take our y values and subtract them, x values and subtract them. And what am I going to get? 0 over 5, which is just 0. So no matter what happens, the y values will always be the same, and that's why you have a 0 slope for horizontal lines. Alright, so now let's look at a vertical line and talk about why the slope is undefined. You can probably guess why. Okay, so let's say we have a vertical line. Let's do something easy. I'm going to choose x equals 2 here to draw our vertical line. And then I'm just going to choose 2 points on our vertical line. Maybe let's call this 2, 3. Maybe 2, negative 4. I'm just making these points up. Feel free to try this with any points on your vertical line. And then we can find the slope. So we're just subtracting the y values. It doesn't matter which one you do first, just a consistent order. So let's say maybe I'll do negative 4 minus 3 divided by the difference of the x values, which are the same. Anything divided by 0 is undefined. So if you have a vertical line, its slope is undefined because the x values are the same. And so when you subtract them, it's going to be 0. Okay, so now let's talk about parallel and perpendicular lines when it comes to slope. So two lines that are parallel, so maybe something like this, they're both going the same way. The rise over run is the same, so that means they're going to have the same slope. So question 4 says, determine a point slope equation for the line through this point, negative 1, 2, which is parallel to the line 2x plus 3y minus 5 equals 0. Alright, important, parallel, our line is going to have the same slope as this line, so let's figure out what the slope is going to be. So first, let's find the slope of 2x plus 3y minus 5 equals 0. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the easiest way to figure out a slope of a line is to put the line into slope-intercept form because it tells you the slope right away. So I'm going to solve for y. So first things first, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides, and I'm also going to add a 5 to both sides. Remember, I still have to solve for y, so now I have to divide everything by 3. All right, so what is the slope of this line? -2/3, and that's going to be the slope of our line. So what are all the things we know about our line? We know that it goes through this point and it has this slope. So that means we need to use the point slope form. All right, so I'm going to use this space over here. Number 2. Let's use the point slope form. So y minus our y value equals our slope, x minus our x value. Okay, double negative, I'm going to make that positive. And then solve for y. So I'm going to distribute here, and then I'm going to add the 2 to the other side. I'll do it in 2 steps. So let me distribute first. And then add the 2 to both sides. Okay. So there's still one more thing we're going to do before we can graph. We need to figure out this y-intercept. We have to combine the -2/3 plus 2. We have a fraction. How do we add things with fractions? We need a common denominator. We're going to use 3 because this one doesn't have one. So I put a 3 on the bottom. I have to put a 3 on the top. So we have 6/3. So we have y equals -2/3 x plus let's see, -2 plus 6, 4/3. Okay, so have we answered the question? So it said determine a point slope equation. We determined a point slope equation for our line that's parallel to this one. It has the same slope. We have this same slope. And then we want to graph the equation. All right, so it's hard to graph in point slope, so I moved it over to slope intercept. And so we can graph it by first finding the y-intercept, 4/3. So that's a little bit more than 1. And then we can use the slope to find another point and connect it to make the line. All right, so that means our slope is negative on top, positive on bottom, so that means we're going to go down 2 and then to the right 3. And now we can connect these. And this is our line.